Hey guys, another new episode of Digital Coffee Marketing Brew. And as always, I'm your host, Brett Deister. But I had Alan with me, and he was the co founder of Strata Originals, co leads a personal branding agency specializing in working with CEOs, executives, entrepreneurs, and coaches with a strategic, intentional, and authentic approach. Alan has coached over 600 CEOs in the past 2 years. And we just talk everything from personal branding, podcasting, everything in between. So what I want to know from you guys is, what did you learn the most out of it? And what is the best advice you got out of this episode? All right, guys, let's get on with the episode and have fun.
Thanks, Brett. Happy to be here.
And the first question is, all my guests is, are you a coffee or tea drinker?
I am a coffee in the morning, tea at night. How's that?
Do you have any specifics ones you like, or is it more just give me whatever is in the shelves?
No, we have one of those coffee brew machines, and we found some coffee grounds that we love, and so it's very consistent coffee every single morning. It grinds it as we go, and it's been a habit for the last 5 years, so we love it.
Are you like a medium, light, dark roast type of person?
Dark.
Interesting.
Like I like my wine, dark and heavy. So,
You want to know a fun fact about coffee?
yeah.
The light to medium roast gives you more caffeine than the dark roast does.
Well, there you go. I don't need enough caffeine. I've got lots of caffeine in my body, so I'm good. That's good. That's good to know. Thank you for that.
If you ever need more caffeine, go to the light and medium. If you need less, stick with your dark roast.
So that's why they talk about espresso. It looks so dark and heavy, but has less caffeine than that's interesting. I didn't know that. Generally, that's cool.
Yes, and I gave a brief summary of your expertise. Can you give our listeners a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, so we work with founders, entrepreneurs, and CEOs to help them figure out what their superpower is, because everybody has something that they're known for. They're what we call their credibility, but oftentimes they don't give it credence. They don't really understand what it is. So we help unlock that. And once we unlock that, then it's a question of how do we communicate that to what platforms, to what audiences, content development, all that stuff. But Brett, the first part and the most important part is the transformational process that goes from somebody who doesn't know who they are to knowing who they are and why they should talk to the world about their gifts.
And how do you start that process? Because I feel like a lot of people just don't know where to start. Like, how do you start the how or why?
Yeah, so we start with, so there's the tool that you guys can download directly from my LinkedIn or our website. It's called a personal branding worksheet, and that'll help you think through some of the questions that we normally ask. But what we do is our first engagement with a client is what we call a brand DNA. And a brand DNA is we do a 90-minute forensic interview with a client, asking them everything that you could ever dream of to really unlock what's inside them. And it's questions like, what advice would you give your 12-year-old self? And then it starts unlocking some things about how people got to where they are today. What's the worst leadership experience you ever have? There's so many different things that we do. And then we present that back to them in literally 4 pages of usable information that says, that's who I am. And the most fun part about that process, Brett, this is the reaction we often get. I never saw myself that way. Because you can't see the label from inside the jar, right? So how do you work on yourself when you don't even know what questions to ask yourself? And are you being honest with yourself? So that's the work we do to get people started. And that process is transformational for the people that we work with.
And is the honesty with yourself through somebody else? Because let's be honest, I don't think we're ever really that honest. I mean, we're our own worst critics, but honesty to ourselves is always hard.
It's really hard. And so one of the clients we had in Ireland, actually, when we presented our brand DNA to her words to us were, geez, I've never thought of myself that way. Well, you can't do that to yourself. So that's where external support coaching helps you. And if you don't have the resources, meaning the financial resources to be able to work with people, then go find, use the worksheet that we have, go follow the videos, go follow great experts in the world to help you really do that deep dive. Because that deep dive, whether you decide to do content or not, it'll unleash some stuff in you, because you don't realize, Dr. Seuss was right. Only you are you. You're the only human being on the planet with your perspectives, the only one. But you don't really know what they are. So you've got to try to at least get the exercise going, and it won't be perfect. But over time, you'll start to ask yourself those questions to uncover your superpower.
It's interesting you mentioned Dr. Seuss because he was a failed, was it ad artist that turned into like one of the most renowned authors.
Crazy. And yeah, I wrote Green Eggs and Ham and all those books that I read when I was a child. So yeah.
What are the next steps after you kind of like see that self-reflection? How do you move on from the beginning stages to maybe the middle part?
Yeah, so the next stage is now, what content do I want to tell the world about? What am I known for? What do I want to talk about? And so what we do is we recommend that people treat it like they're writing a book, but in a very simplistic form. So we say, okay, let's say your topic is leadership as an example. Well, leadership is as big as you could ever dream of, and you may not be an author. So how do you do that? Well, in my world, the way that I looked at leadership when I started down this journey, I thought, what's my unique thing? Well, I was in YPO. I was a chairman of the organization. I traveled the world. There's 140 countries, 35,000 members. I have a unique global experience in working in a volunteer organization where authority didn't matter because you had no authority. You're working with other volunteers. That's a unique leadership perspective that when you learn that, you realize, oh my God, it's so easy to lead outside of in your own business when you have authority. So that was my perspective. So if I were to look at that and say, okay, I'm going to create a book around that, and I'm going to do it over 12 chapters. So those are 12 headings, like global leadership. What's it like? What's it like to work in a volunteer organization? Pick 12 topics. Then under each, you say, I'm going to have, 4 different subheaders in each one. What does that equate to? That's 12 months of the year. That's 1 video a week. You lay it all out, and you can use AI to help you. AI will help you out. It'll lay out everything for you. And then you take that and say, now I have my content for a year. And then all I have to do for that is the next step is recording, right? We recommend video. Why? Most authentic medium possible. Nobody's going to interpret your words. It's you. So what we do is we recommend that. And the simplest way to describe how to record is you pick your topic, whatever that is that you've identified. You figure out what's the lesson you want to leave with people, and what's the story you want to tell to support that lesson. And it's authentic and it's real. And it's just like you talk about coffee, marketing brew, digital coffee. It's like having a coffee with somebody and they've asked you a question about, tell me about global leadership in YPO. Oh, well, let me share a story with you. And there's your video, 2 minutes long. And that's the way it's done for that section. And then you go onto social media, post it on the channels you want, make sure you engage with your audience, and then recycle it and keep doing it every quarter. That's the process.
And should you pick like a few social medias to do, or should you broadcast it out? Because there's always 2 school of thoughts: be niche, figure out one and then move on to the other, or just kind of shotgun blast it and see which one sticks.
Well, we've always believed that depending on where you're starting, right? So if you're starting and you're at the beginning of your journey, try to learn. So we say pick a platform, pick where your audience is, work there, and then branch out. So for example, I will eventually get on TikTok. I'm TikTok as a consumer, but I haven't dived in because I know the commitment that TikTok is required to be able to be effective on it. But I'm on 4 main channels where my clients are. And LinkedIn is the primary one, but Instagram, I do some content on Instagram that's different than what's on Facebook and what's on LinkedIn, because the audiences are there and they may be the same people, but they receive the content differently. So if you're going to be on different platforms, blasting it out is a waste of time because that's not how people receive content. This isn't marketing. This is relationship building. You're building trust at scale when you build your personal brand. And I was talking to a gentleman this morning, and I said, if you start thinking about this, what's the most efficient way to market yourself without marketing yourself? Spend time with people on video. In other words, you're spending time with hundreds of people a day. They don't know you from a hole in the ground, and now they do. Well, that's like cloning yourself. And then how do you build trust at scale? Well, you're out there, and then people will go, oh, that's a cool video. I just had it this morning. Guy went, great podcast, love it. It's something I've been thinking about. Can we have a chat? I don't know who he is. I don't know where he's from, but that was a podcast that I did that was launched literally yesterday. So you're building trust with people over time by being out there and being consistent. And that's the process that we use.
And is it just video or can you do written material too? Because some people just don't want to be on video, I think is the best way of saying it.
I think you can do whatever you're comfortable doing, right? So that's for sure. So in our world, we have our Strata Originals content, which is uh, primarily podcasts, written stuff, newsletters, and the like, and a lot of written stuff. My stuff, I choose, I would say 90% of my content is video because I'm trying to showcase a best practice on how it works. But it doesn't mean I don't write a post on occasion, because that's okay. But what we try to get people to do is part of the transformation, Brett, is people that say that I don't want to be on video. And then at the end of the process, they're on video and they're successful. That's a transformational process. And when you learn how to tell a story in 90 seconds or 2 minutes, that unleashes you to places that you can't even dream of because you're overcoming fear. So we think it's personal branding. Oh, it's just about content development. No, it's about self-development. You grow by going through this process. And the people that have worked with us are on the other side. Like, they can't be stopped now. They can literally point their phone at their face and talk for 90 seconds and then push a few buttons and their post is on video. Before, it would be 3 months of planning and a script and a this and then we got to get perfect. We got to get a camera. We got to get lighting. No. Do this. Digital video, not highly produced. Get out there, talk to people, and connect with people. That's the part that we recommend.
And then what's your stance on going, quote unquote, going viral? Because I know a lot of marketers, brands, and like want to always go viral and they always chase the trends. Is that kind of the opposite of what you want to do, or should they actually like chase the trends?
Well, I mean, this isn't it. So the majority of that is BS, as you know, right? As a digital guy, you know that the majority of people who promise viral are not being honest with you. Things can go viral. Absolutely. They're usually bad things. They're not usually good things. Not like Alan's going to go viral because he had this quote about personal branding that was no one's ever heard of. That's not going to happen. If my goal is to build relationships and to drive people to my world, I don't need 50,000 clients. I need 100 clients. So I need to build 10,000 relationships to get 100 clients over time. So what do I want to do? I want to be honest and authentic, and I want to invite people to my world, and I want to teach people. That's what we do. We teach people. In fact, Brett, our saying is find your uniqueness and share it in the service of others. So the idea of personal branding is I want to teach people what I know, everything I know. And if they go out and do work on their own, I'm really happy. And if they choose to want to work with us because they can, that's great too. But my mandate is to get more people telling their stories and sharing their gifts, because literally their presence is a gift if they're out there. And if it's not, then okay, they won't know what they're missing because they're not out there.
And what if they actually are doing this and it feels like the message isn't resonating? How should they pivot to actually do that? Because I'm pretty sure this is not like I understand everything's going to go out perfectly. I'm pretty sure it's more of like, this is probably not going to turn out perfectly the first time.
It can't. It's impossible to turn out perfectly, right? So the clients that we work with, the first set of videos that they do, they're, maybe a 7 out of 10. And then after a few times of practicing, they get to an 8, 8.5, or 9. But at the end of the day, remember this. This is really important. Perfection is not the goal. Authenticity is the goal. So if you and I are doing videos, our personalities are different. They're going to be different. But you're going to be you, and I'm going to be me. I'm not going to try to perform like an influencer does to try to get more clicks. My goal is to connect with somebody with what I know and with my delivery. It'll resonate with some, it'll repel others. That's human life. But we want people to be authentic, real, and giving. And when you do that, you can't believe what you get back, Brett. It's because you're not marketing, you're not selling, you're teaching. That's such an easier thing to do than try to sell something.
And how do they refrain from doing that? Because I know every marketer is like, we got to sell stuff. We got to make sure we're selling things. And you're like, well, maybe you should hold off from that for at least for a little bit of time before you start actually bringing that part back in.
Well, here's the difference. In the way that we present personal branding, you should never sell. So what you do is, and I'll give you 2 examples. So I put out content. I had I think it was about 3 weeks ago, I put out a short video on Instagram, 30 seconds. Someone who I'd not talked to in 10 years, so literally had lost touch with, in New York City, looked at it, found my email. It says, "Hey, Al, do you still do speaking gigs?" I said, "Yeah, I do." He says, "Can you come and talk to our group in New York?" Yes, I did. Very handsome fee for that. The same week, someone in Cyprus, I don't know who this person is, sees a post, comments on it. "Can you talk to me about my personal brand? I've been thinking about that." Those are two people I've never met before that turned into business immediately. You start thinking about how does that really happen? Well, it happens because you're out there and you're out there in a way that you're teaching. Did I sell anything? Did I pitch them? No. And another example is another WhatsApp group I'm part of, and I saw this young man posting stuff. I saw him on the group, and I went to LinkedIn, and I'm going to go follow him on LinkedIn. And I said, "Hey, Bill, saw you on the WhatsApp group. Love the stuff you post. Would like to connect here." No selling. You know what his email back to me or his DM back to me was? "Oh, Alan, I see you're a personal branding expert. I've been struggling with my personal brand. I wonder if we could have a chat." Did I sell anything? All I wanted to do was connect with a guy. And then I said, happy to help. And I would help. If he turned out to be a client, that's a bonus. But if not, I'm happy to help, happy to nurture, happy to mentor, do whatever. That's how the game is played. People will buy from you if they're in the market. They're not going to buy from you if they're not in the market. So why would you sell to them? That's where you invite them into your world. It's such a different way of thinking about it. But to us, it's the most authentic and effective way to do it.
Maybe still a lot of people in my inbox that are trying to sell me something at the first get go. And I'm like, I'm ignoring you because I'm not even going to address this.
Well, look at what happens on LinkedIn, right? Every time you connect with someone who promises, "I'm not going to sell you," the next DM is selling you something, right? So if you change that up and say, okay, what I tell people about social selling, I said, well, let's say I wanted to sell Brett. Brett was my target audience. I would connect with Brett and I'd say, "Hey, Brett, look forward to following your content. That's great." And then I would literally follow your content. And then I would say, "Hey," and when you had a video or a podcast, I said, "That was a great guest. I really loved it. Now you're going to start to know who Alan McLaren is, aren't you?" For months, I will do that. And then one day you'll wake up and go, "This Alan guy, wow, he's very supportive. What does he do? Personal branding. Oh, I had a guy ask me about that." That's what happens. As soon as you sell, if I pushed you, you're deleting me or you're going, "I don't want to talk to this guy. He doesn't care about me, he cares about him." But if you do it the other way and have a long game in mind, that's really building a personal brand based on trust, based on authenticity. And if you do that consistently, you'll get more leads than if you ever tried to sell people hard the way that you do it, because it happens every day. But I don't do that.
And so, I mean, the end goal is to get more leads. So how you said several months or 6 months or whatever time frame, but a longer game. So how do they start to do that process? I feel like people are like, how do I say this? Am I saying this? Am I commenting too much on someone's post? Like, is that their fear factor? Should they care about that? Or should it just be like, you know what, just be yourself?
Because why, like everybody else is taken, as they say. So be yourself, right? So commenting on other people's posts is a brilliant move, especially if you're getting started, right? Because you're, again, building relationships with people, right? I have two of my best friends, Brett, my best friends. Their relationship started on LinkedIn. They started on LinkedIn, two of my best friends. And you're sitting there going, well, how does that happen? Well, somebody saw a post and connected and then decided we're going to have coffee. They decided they're going to be in my city. And you're just building relationships with like people. And then from that, you're building ambassadors for you, right? You say, oh, that Al guy, he's a good guy and I want to help him. And then you help them. And that's how the game is played. You really, when we talk about timing, it's really important. If you start this and say, I am doing this expressly to generate business in the next quarter, don't waste your time. Not going to happen. Can you build trust in a relationship in that short a period of time with people you don't know? I can't. And I've been in this business a long time. But what I can do is give a gift to somebody of my perspective and say, and not just say, great video, but I love your comment about this. It was incredibly insightful. And here's my perspective on that. Now you're going to read that and go, oh, that's really cool. Now you're going to feel reciprocal when you see my post and go, well, Alan put it on me. I'm going to go comment on him. That helps the algorithm. That helps you get better content. That helps show you're engaged. And everything starts to build from the efforts that are done to help people. Be a giver, good things will happen. Be a taker, and that's how you'll be seen in the world.
LinkedIn, you know, the little, like, I guess, taglines or like the headers of like what you do. Like a lot of times when I say like I made this many amount of money for like these many businesses, and I'm usually like, I'm not going to talk to you because I know you're going to try to sell me. So should they actually care about that part too? Because that's your first basically intro to somebody. So should they be like, look at me, I have all these awards, or should it just be like, this is who I am type of thing?
Answered the question, didn't you? That repels you. And it repels most people because when people think of personal branding, the first thought is cringe, because what they witness on LinkedIn is, look at me. Look at how great I am. Look at how good looking I am. Look at how pretty I am. None of that matters. That's not how you buy from somebody. You want to know, in my case, personal branding expert. That's what he is. YPO, that's my tribe, the people that I know. And then, squirrel tamer is fun. I'm a chief squirrel tamer because I work with CEOs and I got to wrangle them and get them focused. And that's so a little humor, a little directness, and a little of my background. And here's the important thing. When you do search, what do you need? They're not searching for the most successful guy who made $40 million before he was 40. They're saying, I want help in personal branding. I want help in digital marketing. I want help in. So you want to be part of that search as well, because that will help you. And when you do your content properly, YouTube is your friend. Google, same company, but is your friend. When people are searching, don't you want your content to go up? That's the magic. So if you do that, like when I go on right now and type in my name in Google, I see like 40 podcasts that I was on, because you're marketing and I'm marketing. We're double dipping it. You do 50 podcasts in a year. What are you doing? You're building a name for yourself, and you become better than the most, because only 1% are creators. Everybody else is a pretender. They'll come once in a while. They'll go for 3 months. They'll stop.
And it's even less.
That's not what.
It's even less.
Even less. Yeah.
It's even less in podcasting, since most of them stop after 3 episodes.
Exactly, right? And so you have to be strategic, and you have to understand why you're doing it. You have to enjoy doing it. I'm sure, Brett, you love doing podcasts because you learn. I was with a lady yesterday. She says, I just love doing this because I learned so much. Well, that's the beauty of human connection. You have a world. I have a world. We're bringing it together for the benefit of the audience that you have and I have. Isn't there a better way to do? I think podcasting is incredible for that. It's the same as, an audiobook. You can listen to this when you're go for a walk or taking a run. That's the beauty of what we're doing. They don't have to actively look at us. They can listen to us while they're doing other things and learn and grow. That's the magic.
And people listen to this podcast, they're wondering, where can they find you online to learn more about how to do really good self-branding?
You got it. It's so Alan McLaren on LinkedIn is probably the best way to get a hold of me. Just type it in, you'll find me. And then if not, strataoriginals.com is the website. In both places, I would encourage you to download the worksheet. It's a great place for you to get started, to figure out who you are. And if you want more, you can always spend some time with us. We're happy to spend 30 minutes with people who are on this podcast to help them think through it themselves.
Any final thoughts for listeners?
Just recognize this. Your personal brand shows up in the room before you do, and it stays there when you leave. So is it exactly what you want it to be? If you don't know, you should explore it maybe. And if you know that there's a problem, then you have to figure out how to move yourself towards being your authentic self, because that's all you ever want to be, is not be curated. We don't need more curated leaders. We need your presence. We need your gifts. And that's what my job is, to help encourage people to do that.
Well, thank you, Alan, for joining Digital Coffee Marketing Brew and sharing knowledge on self-branding.
Yeah. Thank you. It was nice to be with you, Brett.
And thank you, as always, for listening to this episode. What did you learn from it? I really want to know. Put the comments below. What is the most impactful thing you learned about personal branding, or podcasting from this episode. And as always, thank you. And please subscribe to this podcast on all your favorite podcasting apps. Leave a 5-star review, really just help with the rankings, and let me know how I'm doing. And join me next week as I talk about what's going on and thought leaders in the PR and marketing industry. All right, guys, stay safe, get to understanding what you need to do better from this episode. See you next week. Later.